In this video, you're going to learn about the St. Clair family from Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Hi, my name is Jeremy, and welcome to Elwyn Studios. Our story takes us on a riverboat heading south on the Mississippi. Uncle Tom is being taken to a slave market in New Orleans by Mr. Haley. At the start of our journey, Mr. Haley would always keep Tom and the other slaves chained, but Tom is such a soft-spoken, yes sir kind of guy, so Mr. Haley lets him roam about the boat. Where's he gonna run anyway? This is how Tom is able to meet one of this video's main characters. Evangeline St. Clair is a girl, probably about 5 or 6 years old, who's traveling with her father and his cousin to their home in New Orleans. Eva, as she will be called from here on, is a happy, almost angelic girl with long, curly blonde hair and a white dress. She is a curious kind of child, wandering about the ship, talking to the sailors and giving candy to the slaves that are chained up. She can be found here and there and nowhere at the same time, much to the worry of her caretakers. Uncle Tom was missing his own children at this moment, so he ventured to befriend the little girl. After a time, they exchanged names and destinations. But because Uncle Tom is to be sold, he doesn't really know exactly where he's going. Eva tells him that her father is rich and that she would ask him to buy Tom. We are now introduced to Augustine St. Clair, or just St. Clair as most people called him. At first, he seems to be a very carefree, sarcastic, young, well-dressed, and seemingly bored with life in general kind of guy. But to understand him, we need to go back in his life. Young Augustine had grown up in the South, but because of his weak immune system, he was sent to his uncle in Vermont, where the cooler weather would do him good. There he fell in love and was set on marriage. But while back south to make arrangements, he got a letter from her guardian saying that she was engaged to someone else. So heartbroken, Augustine quickly married another woman, a beautiful southern lady who came from a rich family. Everyone thought that he was happy until he got another letter. It was from her. Augustine was tricked. She wasn't engaged to someone else. Her guardian just didn't approve of their marriage to each other. But it was too late. Augustine quickly wrote back telling her that he was married and there was nothing for them to do but to forget. But I don't think they did. And that is why we see him now, careless in all things except when relating to his daughter. She is now the only really good thing in his life, and he wants to keep her happy. So, after a disagreeable conversation with Mr. Haley, Uncle Tom is now St. Clair's cab driver and Eva's playmate. Now let's meet the rest of the St. Clair family. Miss Ophelia is St. Clair's cousin. She had raised him when he had lived in Vermont, and because of this, she felt a duty to her cousin's well-being. That's why she's on this boat with all her belongings. She is going to live with the St. Clairs in New Orleans. In character, she's the very opposite of St. Clair. As much as he is easygoing and sarcastic, she is strict and to the point. Her whole family was against her moving to the South to live with who they considered to be heathens, but she saw it as her own little mission work. The party lands in New Orleans and is taken home by carriage. As St. Clair helps his cousin out of the carriage, he notices that Uncle Tom is dazzled by the place. A large square mansion with an entryway into a garden in the middle. It's here where they unload while various slaves come to greet their master. But it's probably now time for you to meet the reason why Miss Ophelia was called to visit and to live with the St. Clairs. Marie St. Clair is a beautiful and rich lady, and that's just about all there is about her. After their marriage, St. Clair found that it was hard to please his wife, who was used to being complimented and waited on all the time. Over time, she became more self-absorbed, and her constant whining gave way to regular headaches and sleepless nights. She was convinced that St. Clair had no feelings for her, or anyone for that matter, and that no one could ever understand her daily pains. But none of this repelled Eva's innocent love for her mother when arriving in the house. But after Marie only told the little child that she made her head ache way worse, Eva then moved on to greeting each of the servants with hugs and gifts. St. Clair notices that this made Miss Ophelia uneasy. She had rarely encountered slavery and slaves themselves and felt it strange that Eva would treat all the slaves as equal to herself. But then again, Eva didn't inherit her mother's traits. Let's hit the fast forward button here, because while a lot happens internally for the characters, nothing really happens. So, Uncle Tom over time, takes over running the house, and is much better at this than Miss Ophelia or his master. Tom also takes care of the members of the house. Eva soon becomes a Christian after reading Tom's Bible to him. Tom also shows his kind-hearted nature when he confronts St. Clare about his drinking habits. St. Clare soon gives up drinking and partying because of it. Miss Ophelia, while making quite a fuss about how nothing in the house is in order, probably due to Marie's persistent sicknesses, has learned some things about her heathen cousins. After a neighbor's slave was beaten to death, St. Clare admits that he hates slavery, but feels he can do nothing about it. Because of these kinds of conversations between Miss Ophelia and St. Clare, we're able to glance once again into St. Clare's past. Augustine St. Clare's father ran a plantation with more than 100 slaves. It was a prosperous business, but St. Clare's mother didn't approve of the way the slaves were being treated, and St. Clare was more influenced by her than anyone else. So together, they did what they could to be kind to the slaves. But after his parents' death, St. Clare and his twin brother Alfred couldn't agree on how to run the place. Alfred was a calculating businessman and St. Clare was a writer and musician. So they split off, and that brings us to the present. Miss Ophelia has now inspected the whole staff and doesn't like them, blaming it on laziness. But St. Clare has had enough of Miss Ophelia's preaching, and so he decides to buy a slave girl for his cousin to teach in the way she always said St. Clare should teach his slaves. The little girl's name is Topsy. She was bought from a nearby tavern where she had been beaten all her life. How old she is, no one knows. Who her parents are is a mystery, and so are the disappearance of several pieces of jewelry and clothing after the child came to live with the St. Clares. Miss Ophelia tries to teach Topsy, and though she is successful on tasks like reading, cleaning, and things of that sort, Topsy continues to misbehave and steal. We fast forward again 2 years. The St. Clares move to the house by the lake to escape the summer heat. Eva and Tom are sitting by the water and watching the sunset, as they often did. Eva points out the golden clouds and says that she's going there, wherever that is. She tells Tom that she has seen angels dancing and that she'll join them soon. Both Miss Ophelia and Uncle Tom have noticed how thin and pale Eva seems. And before the summer is over, we find all the family and the slaves gathered in Eva's room. She's sitting up in her bed, and it's now evident that all her time has come. She gives her goodbyes and tells them to meet her in heaven. She then gives each of them a locket of her hair as a reminder that she loves and cares for each of them. Several days later, Eva is gone. Everyone reacts in their own way. Many of the slaves who had raised Eva mourn her, but Marie keeps everyone busy with her own grief, which of course no one else can understand, and which drives her to believe that she would soon die of a worse sickness. But St. Clare is the opposite. He busies himself with work. The only one who sticks by him is Uncle Tom. After the family moves back to the St. Clare estate, there are two important conversations that happen. The first involves Uncle Tom's freedom. Eva made St. Clare promise to free him after her death, but Uncle Tom also promised to stay with St. Clare until he became a Christian. And while St. Clare knew it was the right thing to do, he just couldn't yet. The second conversation is between Miss Ophelia and St. Clare. She asks him to give her the legal right to Topsy so that she can bring her north to be free. St. Clare agrees, but Miss Ophelia is also worried about the other slaves. What would happen to them if St. Clare died? Uncle Tom's Cabin being a book with a lot of tragedy, and I'm sure you can guess what happens next. St. Clare is stabbed when trying to stop a fight between two drunks, then taken home, and it's clear there's no hope for him. He asks Tom to pray for him, and he soon dies. Under the complete control of their merciless mistress, things only get worse for the slaves. Since St. Clare died, before finalizing Uncle Tom's free papers, he and all the other slaves are sent to the trading house, and Miss Ophelia takes Topsy back to Vermont and shares all that she had learned. If you learned something new from this video, you can click over here to learn more about some brain-stimulating stuff, and over here to subscribe and stay up to date on all we got going on.